Aaron Rodgers was spotted on the field pregame before the Jets faced the Eagles this past Sunday, and it took the NFL world by storm. A lot of Jets fans took notice, and Mark noticed as well. And I'm joined by Mark Cannizzaro, our New York Post sports columnist. Mark, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, Ryan. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and I wanted to ask you your reaction. Obviously, we've never seen anything like this before when it comes to Achilles rehab, and we're about to approach the 5 week mark post surgery for Aaron Rodgers, having surgery to repair his Achilles. And I got to ask you, Mark, have you ever seen anything like this before, where they're on the field, a player like him on the field, walking around without crutches in this quick of a time?
Well, when I saw it on Sunday, Ryan, I was taken aback. It was um, your assumption when somebody ruptures their Achilles is they're not bearing any weight on that leg for quite a while. And as I know we'll get into in a couple of minutes here, I spoke to four prominent orthopedic surgeons in the area here in New Jersey area, and all of them said that it wasn't shocking that he's walking without crutches at this point, because somewhere in and around the 5 or 6 week mark is a time when you don't need you can shed the crutches and walk, put some weight on it. But I feel like the everything that Aaron Rodgers does is calculated, and you know I he obviously has been very adamant about um wanting to come back at the end of this year. He wants to defy the odds, and so I really feel like to some degree it was a little bit of a show. I also think it was a little bit of Aaron's way, and he spoke about it today on the Pat McAfee show. I think selfishly it was a way for him to kind of feel some normalcy, be around the team and whatnot. And I think there's a part of him that realizes his value to the team in terms of being an inspiration and a guy that guys look up to. So it was a little combo platter of everything. It was a little selfish. It was a little bit, wanting to give to his teammates and the coaching staff and show some hope. Um, but at the end of the day, and again, we can get into it a little bit. It's I'm still going to be surprised if he's playing at the end of the season. And
Yeah,
if I could just say this, I feel
yeah,
like Robert Saleh said today he was on, I believe, the Craig Carton show,
yep.
and said that they're keeping a spot open for Aaron. I think this is a lot of I don't. It's I'm not saying it's any deception, but I think it's a morale play a little bit. The Jets are in a good place right now, obviously after their Sunday win, but Rodgers has meant so much to this team, and that it was such a incredible downer when he did get hurt. 4 plays into the season opener, and I know we spoke to Robert on Monday in a Zoom call, and after the day after the game, the Eagles game, and he talked about the fact that he wants Aaron around as much as possible. He said he's not telling him to be around, he's not even asking him to be around, but Aaron knows it, and that was his way to come in and be with the guys a little bit, and Aaron likes the attention. Let's not kid ourselves now. So I think the fact he was out there and drawing some attention, and he knew that was going to go haywire on social media, as it did. So it accomplished all, it checked all the boxes, so to speak, the visit.
Right. I think McAfee was having a little fun with him saying, "So you're coming back next week, right?" And he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, let's pump the brakes there a little bit."
Yeah.
Obviously, the quote he said was, "Is another marker is going to be jogging in the next steps of his rehab," along with saying, "And then there's another marker is going to be going through a pregame workout, probably get on the practice field. All these are going to take time. It's not just going to be boom, 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 boom. These are all progressions that take time, but obviously we're ahead of schedule." So when you spoke to these doctors about Aaron Rodgers' rehab, are they even amazed at how quickly he seems to be in his rehab schedule ahead of time right now?
I would not say they're as amazed as we in the general public were to see him out there. Because as I said, when I did speak to some guys and I said, "What were your reactions?" They said, "Well, they weren't stunned that he was out there without crutches, and again, he was just tossing the ball. There was no heavy lifting going on or cutting or anything like that, of course. But the one thing that all of them were in concert with, and these are all separate conversations, and I didn't refer to any conversation I had with a previous doctor with the one I was talking to at the time, but the consensus absolutely was that he's pushing the envelope to try to think he's going to get back by week 14, 15. That you're talking about 14 or 15 weeks out from an injury that on the good side takes 5 months to 6 months, even for athletes. I mean, Cam Akers came back, and I believe 6 months. The Rams running back from a from Achilles. So each one of them expressed some concern that he might be susceptible to tearing it again, which would make things ugly. It would complicate things, especially for a guy that's 39 years old. I mean, I'm not a doctor, obviously, but that could potentially, could sabotage his season next year.
Right.
And then if you're doing that, I mean, God forbid he comes back in week 14 and re-ruptures it. Um, it's he now you're dealing with a more complicated rehab from there that is going to take probably at least a year or so, whatever. And now you're talking about him compromising his 2024 season. One of the doctors told me that he feels like, and I think this makes sense. He feels like it's if Rodgers is able to come back physically and he's cleared by his doctors and the Jets doctors, that his decision will very much be based on whether the Jets have secured a playoff spot or not at that point.
Mm.
He said he wasn't even really sure if Rodgers would go and try to come back if the Jets are still trying to make the playoffs. This is a total opinion of this guy.
Yeah.
He said, "Listen, if the Jets are out of the playoffs by then, the decision's easy. You don't come back because then you're just coming back to thump your chest and say, look at me, I came back,' rather than being smart and letting it rehab in the offseason so he could be 100% in 2024. So the fascinating element to this will be, I think, the middle ground. If
Mm.
the Jets are in contention for a playoff spot and Aaron, is physically feeling with conversations with his doctors that he can do it, then it becomes that risk reward decision for him.
And that's the interesting question in the follow-up here, Mark, is that let's say the Jets are they have a pretty good schedule coming down the stretch. I mean, they got through their tough part now at 3-3, right? A huge win against the Eagles that a lot of people weren't expecting to see, but this defense is legit. Zach Wilson, while he's not lighting up the scoreboard, but he is making incremental improvements. If the Jets are in a playoff position heading into, let's say, week 17 or 18, or on the
Mhm.
they're on the verge of clinching a playoff spot. Wouldn't it be better to let Zach get that experience? And if, let's say, Aaron Rodgers is cleared by doctors to play, how would that play out? You
Well,
know?
I think that's all part of the fascinating dynamic to it, Ryan. I mean, this is going to be a nuanced situation here, right? Say, are the Jets? Let's just say week 14, the Jets are, I don't know, 7-6 or whatever. They got whatever. It's just and they're really just like they are right now on the outside, just looking in. They need some things to go right for them. They need to win out or something
Mhm.
like that. And Zach is playing kind of the way he's playing now. He's not causing the team to lose, but he's also not winning games for the Jets, which is kind of where we're at with Zach right now. At that point, like that's really the middle ground that becomes fascinating. Do the Jets pull the trigger again if Aaron is cleared to go by, his doctor that did the surgery and the Jets doctors, none of whom are going to put him in harm's way. Um, then it becomes all right. Well, you know, can we throw Rodgers in there and catch some magic and get into that playoffs? And then once you're in the playoffs, it's anybody's game. What is interesting that nobody's talking about, and you just kind of raised it a little bit. What if the Jets are, you know, 7-5 or 8-5 or something like that, and they're in, or even 9 and something, and they're
Yeah.
going to go to the playoffs? What if they're 10 and something? And Zach has gone like this, and he's playing really well. At that point, you're not taking Zach out of the lineup, even for Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers himself would probably tell you Zach's not coming out of the lineup. I mean, listen, I'm not sure I anticipate that. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle because I do think this team is good enough to contend for a playoff spot, even with Zach at quarterback. And I'm not a believer yet in Zach to think that he's a guy that's going to be putting the team on his shoulders like Aaron can. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways that this can go, and it's going to be fun to watch it unfold. And when the time comes, and if Aaron is cleared, we're going to have to just kind of see where it all is at that point. Is Zach playing really good football and to the point where he's a big reason the Jets are winning and are going to go to
Mm.
the playoffs? if that's the case, then I'm not so. I think you're right. I don't think you take him out. He should keep. He's earned the right to keep playing.
Right.
Uh, but if it's kind of on the fence, and the Jets maybe just need one more win to get in the playoffs, and then they can get in, and and Aaron can play, then I think it's a different story.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story that is consistently developing. We're looking forward to seeing each and every week. Rodgers did admit he will be at the next Jets game at versus the Giants. He'll be back on the sidelines again. Again, it's cool seeing him with the headphones on, being a part of those discussions and being around the team. Finally, Rodgers did say, I asked Elatrash if we could push it beyond the normal protocols. Of course, he referenced, like you did, Cam Akers surgery, but I just want to do things quicker, smart, but quicker. The most
Yeah.
important thing is you just don't want to stress the Achilles.
Yeah.
Mark, I appreciate you as always, man, for giving us all your insight and joining this conversation, man.
Absolutely. Good talking to you, Ryan.